This conference will now be recorded.
Notice of a public hearing for the natural hazard mitigation strategies. Dane County is in the process of updating its natural hazard mitigation plan. This update is considered multi-jurisdictional by FEMA, which means that each jurisdiction within Dane County will have an annex attached to the plan addressing the need for hazard mitigation and the potential steps that can be taken. FEMA approval requires that each jurisdiction seeking approval participate in the planning process. The Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Steering Committee was appointed by the town board to complete the required planning steps. We have a public hearing regarding the hazard mitigation strategy developed by the steering committee will be held beginning at 7 p.m. on Monday, November 1st at the town hall. Call that public hearing to order. Are there any questions from the audience or online?
So there were 4 strategy worksheets that the committee filled out. I'll explain them now. They were for a severe heat or cold event. Do you want me to go through any of the details, or do you want to, Mike? Or?
No, I think they're basically, most people can read them, and if you have a question about any of them, ask the question. We did a tornado windstorm. This is the big thing that happens like every 3-4 years. Was it 4 years? 3. Basically, to get it. Was it 5? Actually, but it starts at the lowest levels. I think there were townships that didn't get involved with this, but it's good for us to do this every so many years, and it just sort of lays out a plan in case something would happen. And I think pretty much everybody here is aware of the things that could happen. Heat and cold is one. Flooding, and then there would be like tornado, windstorm type things. So those would be the ones that basically we could deal with, and it just basically set up a plan on how we would do it if there's a major crisis. If you've lived out here a while, mostly the flooding is down on the Koshkonong Creek down here, and it does affect farmers and so on and so forth. And now what our plan to do now for emergency government would be to take these and work on them to refine them even more, so we would know exactly who would be affected. We went through all kinds of statistics on where people live, amount of minorities, just you name it, who we'd be dealing with on these issues, and so on and so forth. So that's what they basically are.
Any questions, comments?
I thought it was pretty much self-explanatory.
Yeah, well, it is. It goes up from here to Dane County, and then of course then to the state, and then it goes to the federal government, and it's basically the way it seems to me, it's a way for the state and levels to have a plan to get federal money, really, in case we ever go through a major crisis.
If there's no questions, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to close the public hearing. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Hyde Grove Town Board will hold a public meeting immediately following the public hearing. You can also join the meeting by GoToMeeting. We have a quorum present. The meeting was posted at the town hall and on the website. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll stand for the flag pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You have the Minutes of October 25th and October 18th in your packet.
I would move approval of both as printed.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Dupuy to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I have 2 sets of closed session minutes also.
Somebody, this is one I got an extra. This is the other one.
Well, I think I passed mine around.
Okay, that's right. I'll ship it back to you.
Kim, on the October 25th, number 2, second line, 100 hours per week,
Here,
year.
Good. I'll move approval and to keep them closed. Approval with the correction acknowledged on October 25th
For both.
for both.
Second. Motion by Williams, second by Dupuy to approve minutes, closed session minutes for October 18th and October 25th with the one correction from week to year and to keep them closed.
I thought that for the meeting or the minutes from the 25th, no, that's been approved, that's public record now.
But we haven't approved any of the tax end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because till we get the budget for.
Yeah,
Okay,
Finalized.
okay, got it.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Finance report and approval of billing.
I'll move approval of checks 34,986 through 35,0160 be paid, with 34,945 being voided because it was lost.
Motion by Dupuy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Fonger to approve checks 34,986 through 35,016 with check number 34945 being voided. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have your unaudited cash and investment balance of $2,191,436.41. And you have the October per diems in your pack.
Motion to approve the October per diems as presented.
Motion by Anders.
Second.
Second by Dupuy
Doesn't matter to me.
to approve the October per diems as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Anything else?
I put the 22 budget in your packet. You wanted to look that over. I also had a little calculator on the back. That was your minimum balance for the audit for your unassigned funds.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay. Moving on, next item is public concerns. Public's opportunity to speak to the town board about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. No one?
Yes, hello,
Any road right-of-way permits?
hello.
Yes,
Yes, I have a question about the public concerns.
okay,
It's
Your name?
Robert Williamson calling.
okay,
Over the weekend on Friday, I had a chance to read through the comprehensive plan. And I ran across something that I think has changed since I had last looked at it. On the map 10, the map 10, it shows we've got property at the corner of Gala Way and Vilas Hope Road. And previous to this, I didn't think that Gala Heights, it's called, was in a neighborhood development area. But I think now that it is, if we border that, what does a neighborhood development area mean to me or to anyone?
well, a neighborhood development area is an area that's designed for a subdivision. Multiple homes.
With last year's update of the plan, we colored some of the existing subdivisions as neighborhood development because they never were before.
Right.
They are developed neighborhoods. So there were a few of those subdivisions, older ones, that were colored to be the right category. That's what that's from.
Okay, so there's a change there, but our property, that actually subdivision, most of it was our property at one point in time, back 40, 50 years ago. But now bordering that, are we able to join that neighborhood development plan? I mean, if it's a neighborhood development area, it's to develop, I would think. Or, I mean, I can't find any explanation of what it really means.
It's your property that adjoins it is not colored as neighborhood development, is it?
No, but it's right next to it. It's bordering it.
If you wanted that to become something other than what it's planned right now, you would have to ask the Plan Commission. We have the time period in February 15th through March 15th for changes right now. We are currently going through updating the comprehensive plan. You could certainly come and talk to the Plan Commission at their next meeting that they're discussing the update and see what their take is on it.
Okay. I mean, our goal there is we have an 18-acre parcel that we would like to sell, and we'd like to sell it in 2 parcels. And it's bordering it. We don't want to develop it any further than that. So I guess I'm just looking for guidance as to how to go about that.
So are you looking to keep the 2 parcels, 9 or approximate acres each, and put a home on them?
Yes.
And you would have to have a residential development unit in order to put a house on that property then?
and we have those available.
Okay,
So I mean, right now, I mean, I've got offers to purchase the property and I've got offers out to purchase the RDUs. So what do I need to do from here?
when you would plan for the rezoning to allow the house, you would go to the county, apply there, apply at the town, and both places would want to see that you had purchased a development right
Or have
Okay.
it.
or have an accepted offer for that development right to put the two houses on the two parcels.
So that's all we need is just the fact that we are in a contract to purchase the development unit. So if we wanted to wait until February, March, whatever, and try to have our property included with the neighborhood development, I mean, does that give us any other, then can we purchase a 1 to 8 RDU or not, or?
If it's in a neighborhood development area, then you get the multiplier.
Okay. So right now, if we did this, we'd have to buy 2 separate RDUs. But if we waited until February, March and applied and tried to get this included in the neighborhood, we can buy an RDU that is a 1 to 8 variance.
But the lot sizes are different in neighborhood development and in the ag area. Remember that. You'd be looking at smaller lots.
Right. And we would expect you to build all 8 homes. So you have
So
roads and water.
So basically, someone can buy a 1 to 8 for say $60,000 and have 8, but then you're expected to build 8 or have 8 lots. But if you don't do that, you can buy a 1-on-1 and it still costs you $60,000, but you only get 1 building site.
Correct.
So I mean, it's either a 1 or an 8. You can't just buy a 1 to 8 and not use all 8.
No. No.
Why not?
Why would we want to have a neighborhood development area where you're going to have a subdivision and not build it out?
Well, it's already there. It's just adding to it. You know, I mean, there are 25 houses there right now. It would just be adding 2 homes to that division. I mean,
We would
it's
still,
already somewhat built out. I mean, it's not like a new development out in the field somewhere where you make 8 lots. It's
well, just like when those original homes went in, they probably didn't have to do a stormwater plan. Now you would have to do a stormwater plan. Besides putting in roads.
So a 1 to 8 is always meant, and 1 to 8 has always meant that you had, whoever bought that had to always make 8 lots.
They had to go, and they had to be transferred to that neighborhood development area.
Okay,
Subdivision.
Pardon?
It's meant for a
Yeah,
subdivision,
it's meant for a subdivision,
not rural homes.
not rural homes. Your lots
But-
are smaller.
okay. I understand what you're saying. I just don't know why it's already existing and it's just putting homes right next to it.
It would be like what Don Vinny did up in Sky High. Sky High was an existing subdivision. The area got moved to neighborhood development. He had to show that he had an RDU to build enough to build the 16 homes that butts up to it.
Okay,
It's just an expansion of the existing subdivision. So if you want to expand that subdivision, we're going to expect you to build at least 8
okay.
homes.
So there is no in between. It's either 1 to 8 or 1 to 1, but the cost is exactly the same.
Correct. The only difference is the size of your lots that you create.
Okay. All right. That gives me the information I was looking for. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Now road right away.
Two of them, Wisconsin Power Light, one in Vinnie subdivision, gas hookup for lot 2.
Is that the last lot then up there?
No. They're all sold, but one has a third building. And this is for gas expansion up to Northeast Ridge Edition and Rapid Road.
Rapid Road.
Yeah.
For
That's
gas.
Line Energy, yeah, gas extension. Yeah, so Circle High and Sunset Ridge area. We're gonna run it from Baxter area out.
Is there a motion on the two road right of way permits, one for Alliant Energy and one for Wisconsin Power and Light?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to approve the road right of way permit for Alliant Energy and for Wisconsin Power and Light as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to new business, Plan Commission recommendation. Dane County Solar LLC applicant, Dane County landowner applying for a conditional use permit for a 20 megawatt solar facility on 178 acres along County AB, Hope, and Femright roads. Do you want the presentation or did you read what the minutes from the Plan Commission were?
I did read them.
Lots of information.
Yep.
It's a long meeting that night.
Are the solar, Sun and Solar representatives here?
Yes. You want them to make a presentation to you?
I think a little overview would be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill, could you give us a quick overview of
Would you like it verbally, or would you like me to try to fire up that PowerPoint?
Verbally.
verbally? Is
Verbally,
fine.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, hi, I'm Bill French. I'm a Regional Director of Project Development at Sunvest Solar. So at our public hearing, we made a presentation for the development of a 20 megawatt ground-mounted solar facility. It's generally found north of Lutz Lane, east of County AB, and then Femright is kind of the north part, but there's also a section then a little bit north of that onto to Hope Road. The purpose of this would be for us to sell the arrangement is that the renewable energy credits would go to the county to help them offset their carbon footprint. And then the energy that's produced would be put onto the Alliance grid and then help offset the carbon footprint that Alliant WPL is using. We're generally, although we mentioned we're using about 100, it's 178 acres, we're actually going to use about 109 acres inside the fence. And so these panels themselves are ground mounted, they're trackings, so they actually move with the sun. They're approximately 8 feet tall at their maximum tilt. And then we would plant underneath it with prairie grasses underneath, and then around the perimeter would be a little bit heavier pollinator seed mix. There were several comments at the hearing, and we agreed to several conditions that the Planning Commission recommended. One was a limitation of hours of operation near the church. Specifically, it had to do with the installation of the racking system. We actually use a pneumatic pounding machine since there's no concrete. And they were concerned about us doing those operations during weekends or during special occasions that they would have, weddings, funerals, and in particular during Lent and the Easter week. So we did agree to limit our hours of operation there. The church was also concerned about a visual aspect. The array itself kind of creeps up near their property line. So we've agreed to install rows of arborvitae along their property line to help create a visual screen. And I believe the last condition was that the township had asked to be an additional, a named additional on the bond. Did we miss anything else? Oh, yes. Thank you. I should have read your the screen. And the last one was there was a concern by one of the farmers, mostly had to do with our use of the pollinator-friendly seeds. They were concerned that they would drift, especially when it came to areas of hay or alfalfa. So we've agreed to, once we've can identify that with the neighbor, we would do a little more intensive maintenance for that to help keep any of that seed growth from spreading too far. Those are the conditions we've agreed to. And, some of the questions might come up if timing, should everything be approved. We would start in the spring. This is a summer of next year construction with an in-service date. In-service means when we connect it onto the grid, somewhere in the late summer or early fall.
Explain how you, so Dane County bought the land.
So Dane County owns the land itself, yep.
And then they're hiring you guys to run this for 7 years. Is that what it is, or what?
Yeah, so Dane County owns the land. They issued an RFP, a request for proposals. We successfully won the RFP. So the arrangement is that we are, our compensation for renting the land is to deliver to them their new renewable energy credits. I don't know if I can fully explain it, but it's a credit used for corporations, businesses, governments to offset their carbon footprint. It's a credit against using fossil fuels. And so, yes, to answer your question, so the first 7 years, Sunvest owns and operates the facility. At year 7, then it'll turn over and be owned by Alliant WPL.
Okay, so the county would sell the land then, the land.
No, it's just that they would, Alliant WPL assumes the lease.
Okay, so we end up getting nothing,
That's,
basically,
no, that's not
for the
true.
land use.
So that's not true. So there is a shared revenue arrangement with the state. So all public utilities enter into this. So at year 7, the county begins receiving a somewhere between a $20,000 to $25,000 a year.
The county.
The town.
Give me that again.
In year 8.
Yeah.
In year 8. Okay.
Yeah. The county receives money, the town receives money. They both do. I don't want to say it's one or the other, but your portion would be somewhere between $20,000 to $25,000.
And then there was some kind of an agreement that was talked about money for you guys for the town.
Yes, sir.
To
Correct.
make up for taxes that which I understand. Basically.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes. So we have not seen the paperwork, but we've agreed to it in concept. We're working on that.
We're waiting for Amy to draft it.
We're waiting for your attorney to put that together, but we have agreed that we would do that.
And then that comes to us to approve or what?
Yes.
Okay.
The agreement does?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Because
I'll read guys.
I think we went through this about the fact that originally land was $2,000.
And the taxes somewhere right around there, yeah.
Okay, you made the point that they didn't take all the land, is that what it was, or?
Right, they're just taking cropland.
Okay.
With no improvements on it.
I'm just, so that was the agreement from that you dealt with, that they would give us $1,500 or whatever.
Right.
And I was just a little surprised at that when we talked about it last time, because I know you negotiated in good faith, so I have no question about that, but it just seemed to me that we should have got a little more money than that.
Or the tax, they mean.
Well, whatever, you know, now the value, I don't know what the value of a solar farm is. to just a piece of farmland. You get what I'm saying? So
You're
Yeah.
you're thinking that
they're in
the
a profit, they're in
valuation,
a profit mode.
correct. So you're thinking that the monies received by the town prior to year 8 should be based upon the value of the solar farm versus the
Basically,
value of the
yeah.
farmland.
It just seems to me that, like I said, they're in a profit mode and that would, to me, make that land worth a lot more than it would have been as
I agree.
sitting as agriculture.
I agree.
Currently, there's no taxes being generated.
I correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
but you're gonna generate money, correct?
We
As
are-
you're a business, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
But yeah, but there's a law where an independent power producers, and so we're exempt from the revenue sharing at this time.
Mhm.
Um,
We got her made in a way.
uh,
Well, I don't know, they're putting a solar panel, Meyer Road's got another big thing going on, it's solar right down from where you're at, where you're putting your stuff in.
There's a tremendous amount of risk to
Yeah.
do what we do.
There is?
Sure, there's
Okay.
always risk reward. So,
On anything, correct?
correct.
And I don't think you'd be doing this unless you were figuring on making money, right?
We are a for-profit company, yes, sir. I'm not going to deny that.
Do you put the solar panels up anywhere that you lose your butt on?
I
Well, I don't know, I'm just
Yeah,
asking questions.
I don't know that answer.
Because it used to be, the Dane County always went, oh, man, we don't want to do anything out in the county because we want to go out and look at the cows. We want to see farmland. And now it seems like everything's about solar. It's just the opposite what things always have been. Which, not to say it's not good. I'm not saying that. So.
Something else to consider is that once this is up and operational, it doesn't require any services.
Mhm.
So it's not going to require, water or sewer.
Got it.
Police drive by, no more than they would today. And, fire, these really aren't combustible things, so they just don't burn. So there really are very, there's very little services required of the county once it's even up and operational.
Mr. French, my
Yes, ma'am.
compliments to you. I read your entire
Oh, thank you.
brochure. And I'm very impressed with Sunvest Solar, the information you shared. The company was founded in 2009 in Milwaukee.
That's correct. Yeah.
That you're a recognized solar leader and ranked in the top 10 solar developers nationwide
Mhm.
by Solar Power World magazine this year.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have a proven track record of successfully developing commercial, community, residential, and nonprofit solar projects. And further, you are the #1 solar developer in Wisconsin
Mhm.
for 5 years running.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With that in mind, do you plan to hire local people to do this installation and construction when you start next spring?
It is always our goal to hire as much local work as we can find. Some of it is specialized, some of the work would be specialized, so we can't always guarantee that we're going to find a local installer. But the good thing about the state of Wisconsin is that there are plenty of companies out there. We will absolutely do everything we can to use local engineering, electrical, certainly any of the construction work, fencing, things like that would be all we would look to hire locally first. It's actually to our advantage to always do that because it should be cheaper. It doesn't, the mobilization cost is a lot more affordable. But yes, we would do everything we possibly could to hire locally.
Dane County has actually placed an emphasis on training people
Mhm.
to do this sort of
Yeah.
work. So I would really like to see them hired on this project for
Mhm.
Dane County. And then just following up on what Mike has said, and I agree. And I look forward to seeing the plans that you have described, which is, I think they should be beautiful. But at the same time, the town of Cottage Grove will still be plowing Hope Road, Van Wright Road, still be repairing. And so there will still be costs for the town. And I would think you would aim to hold harmless the town for the loss of the essentially 2003 years taxes until it's turned over to Alliant Energy.
What year did you say?
For the,
Oh, I thought you said I thought you gave me a year from like.
no, from when you start this until it's turned over to Alliant Energy to increase it from 1,500 to 2,000.
So you're asking to go from 15 to 2.
He's shaking his head back there. Is he the boss or what?
No, he represents Alliance.
Oh, okay.
If we could receive a favorable vote tonight on that, I think we would agree to that number.
Thank you.
Let me ask one more question. Do you get federal subsidies for doing this and state subsidies or?
You know, there are.
No, just a question.
Yeah, they're called investment tax credits, things like that.
And I always look at it like, geez, if it's so darn good, how come the federal government's got to pay to build them? Interesting. Just a comment.
Yeah.
Your business, and I take the money too. If I was doing the same thing, but you know, it is what it is. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, the Plan Commission, if you read their minutes, do you want to accept the findings that they had on the standards for the conditional use permit?
One thing I was going to say, Mr. French mentioned one condition that I don't think I had in the minutes, that the town wanted to be an additional insured on the bond.
Right.
So do you want that added to the conditions on this?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm assuming that'll be part of the motion that will eventually see. So the standards for the conditional use permit, are you willing to accept the Plan Commission's findings? Or do you want to go through and do them yourself?
I think we could accept them with what Tim said, adding that on there.
Yeah, that was just the standards. So.
Yes, and with the, if we're just talking about standards now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume that last bottom X is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's in the wrong. Migrated on me. So the conditions on the first page, I'll just add that being an additional insured. And,
Right.
we can do that in motion.
I'll move for approval
Of the
conditions
and the findings of
in the plan,
Commission on
in the plan
standards.
findings
With the addition.
with the addition of adding the town board. Yes.
On the bond.
And the town held harmless for the taxing. I'll second that motion.
Motion by Clay, second by William. Any discussion on that motion?
So how do you want to say the part about the 2,000 you said the town be held harmless, but I don't, that doesn't
Is
say.
that a separate part of the motion otherwise?
I mean.
How do you, I just don't know how to word it. Exactly.
Yeah, the payment would go from 1,500 to 2,000.
It was included here that there is a payment to the town, but I just included the amount.
Right.
I'll make a motion, we accept $2,000 per year. Or did you already do that?
Yeah.
Oh, you added that on?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
We were just wondering
Okay.
how
Got
to word that.
Okay,
For her motion.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're accepting the findings of the condition of the standards by the Plan Commission. And approving the conditional use permit with the addition of the town being an additional insured on the bond and the annual payment in lieu of taxes being increased to $2,000.
Correct.
Yes.
Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item was discuss and consider amending the land use ordinance to require a wider right-of-way on new collector streets. And the plan commission recommended that revising the subdivision ordinance to require a 70-foot right-of-way on new collector streets, which that came from the engineer to ensure that we had room for
Traffic on both
drainage.
sides, and traffic on both sides.
It would increase the paved portion, but give us room to ensure that we had drainage.
So then you would just, like in evaluating a new subdivision, you would be deciding which streets you considered collector streets?
Right.
Is that a defined term in our subdivision ordinance right now?
I believe so.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Who would you want to work on drafting that, the engineer or the town planner or both of them?
Town planner and the engineer.
But this isn't gonna cost anybody that's got a current lot, right?
No, it would be anything new
Okay.
that would come before.
I'd move approval of amending the land division
Second.
ordinance to require the wider right of way.
Motion by Williams, second by Anders to amend the land division ordinance to require a wider right-of-way on new collector streets. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item, discuss and consider next steps for possible intergovernmental agreement with the city of Madison. And I had I think I have two registrants that wish to. Randy Graber is against. He did not indicate he wanted to speak. Kent Kelsey. And he wished to speak, and I assume it's on this?
Yep, correct.
You have the floor.
Which one?
Go ahead, Randy.
Mine is basically a statement. I was at the public hearing on this issue and I heard the argument that this was, you're only going to get annexed if you want to be annexed. That's not the case. We heard from the city planning department, Brian Grady, talk about there are situations where you can be swept in, you can come in, you can be annexed even though you don't want to. I heard the arguments that if you don't want to, you're not going to get annexed in. I don't think that's the case. I heard the argument that the city is going to do it anyway, so there's no real harm in this. I understand what this potential agreement's about. This is not about a lack of understanding what annexation is. I'm familiar with the annexation laws, both on a professional and a personal level. To me, this is about this board and the citizens that you represent, your philosophical approach in support of annexation as a whole. This is about your position on losing town farmland. It's about your position on focusing or on further urbanization of rural property. It's about your position on supporting the results of a town resident survey that clearly states that they opposed annexation. And it's really about supporting all town residents, not some. When I look at this agreement, it clearly states that my town board will not approve or not oppose any annexation into the city of any area in Area A, that you'll remain silent on it. The second thing says you will not approve any development. And just as an aside, I hear Mr. Williamson talk about he wants to attach his area to a development right, or he wants to divide it, or he wants to rezone it. Under this agreement, he can't. And I wonder how many of the people in the town of Cottage Grove don't understand that. If this passes, they lose that ability to do that. He's on here asking all sorts of questions about what he can do, probably not aware of this particular agreement. And that also states that my town board will not support any annexation to any other municipality. It basically states that you will turn a blind eye to those needs and desires that me as a town resident or anybody else in area A as to what they want to do with their property, and that you will remain silent on that. You'll basically quiet my voice. It is a fact that elected officials, I don't care if you're talking about the town, the county, the village, the city of Madison, they create venues for discussing laws, ordinances, and proposals. You can go before them, you can state your case, and they have the ability to support that or deny it. And what this is doing is you're taking away my right to access by passing this to saying that you will not support and I will not have a voice at these public hearings where I can go in and state my case. What I would ask that you do as a town board of the town of Cottage Grove is that you deny this agreement and not bring it up again. Thank you.
Any question?
There is no agreement right now, obviously. So,
Kent, did you?
Well, City of Madison representative would be here because I did have some more, again, I circled informational because I did have some more questions about being swept in. Because obviously we're a smaller landowner compared to some of the bigger tracts of land that are surrounding me, Mr. Cloglin, Stevie Bork, Mr. Marks. You got Homburg going down, you got Paulson. Obviously, it's very advantageous for them to become part of the city as the way it's structured right now. But I do have some questions on being swept in, just like Randy does. But will we ever get those questions answered?
Ask your question now.
So what's the swept in portion of annexation? You said, but you said it 50 times at the last meeting, it's the landowner's ability to be annexed in. We have to want to be annexed in. However, you could be swept in, which then you don't have the ability to say no.
Okay.
So what's swept in mean in your definition?
Swept in would be you have 3 houses next to each other, 2-acre lots.
Which is exactly what I have. I got Donnie Clogland,
Two of
Marks,
the,
and so I'm 7 acres. Luke has 1. Debbie has a half an acre. So I'm surrounded, just like you say.
okay, so 2 of those landowners wish to annex. They also want to take you in. There's 3 houses. However many people have voted in the last gubernatorial election get to vote on that annexation. So if you have 2 people in each house, or if you have none that voted in the gubernatorial, however they vote determines if that annexation goes through.
So then I don't have the right to say no to annexation.
You have a right to vote no, but they can drag you in.
If you're
So I
surrounded.
don't
If
have
you're
a choice,
surrounded,
that's what I'm
totally
saying.
surrounded,
So you
Right,
would
correct.
not
I
be
would
able
be.
to touch the
Be
town
fully
anymore.
surrounded.
all the way around.
Yes.
are you touching,
So then you
they
don't have a
touching
choice
Madison?
because you said it 50 times. It's your choice as a landowner to
are they,
annex in.
are you touching,
However,
are they all, any of them touching Madison?
right now,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, who's touching? Are you or?
No, I'm not. Luke, I believe Luke is on the west side.
Luke?
What,
Who is Luke?
I touched Meister's land. Luke touches Meister's land. Debbie touches Meister's land. And then we got Cloglin, and then we got Marks.
So that's the current annexation laws.
Right, but you sit here and say it's your choice, but you don't have a choice.
whether there's an agreement or not, if that scenario happened, you'd be gone regardless.
Right
You
now,
have to say that to people, because what you're saying is you have a choice, but in that scenario, I don't have a choice. Do you understand that? It's very misleading when you say it's the landowner's choice to go into
you're saying your neighbors want to do this.
How do I know?
Well, don't you know your neighbors?
I live in a rural community, so I don't talk to them every day, no.
No, but you have no clue. I mean, I would go talk to them and see what their feelings would be, you know?
Generally with annexations, what the municipality is going to take is the open land first, where there's nobody to vote on.
Right, and get the little guy surrounded.
And then
when they've developed that and they've ruined your life, maybe, that's when you'll ask to be annexed.
No, not asked. You'll be pretty much forced if your other neighbors, like you just said.
Only if they drag you in. If they didn't
I
list
don't have a
you,
choice when I get
if they
dragged in.
didn't list you on the annexation, you stay. But if they list you as part of it, yeah, they're gonna drag you in. But that's the
I think
current law.
that's very misleading is where I'm going. I think we should vote no, but yet the bigger tracts of land that we just mentioned, be open for those people to develop. Don't shut them down, but why should we give up our property?
Even if we don't sign it, the laws that are on place right now, they could still drag you in.
Right, but don't sign it. Okay, let's not sign it then.
It doesn't make any difference. You could still be drug in
That's fine.
on the
The
annexation.
probability of me getting dragged in if we sign it are much greater.
No,
Why?
exactly the same.
Not for 50
Yes, they are.
years.
No.
Why?
Yes, they are.
Why would you have a greater chance of being drug in?
Because we got an agreement that says basically if the 4 people can annex and they do annex,
It's the
then
same
they're
right
gonna
now.
drag me in.
It's right now today the same.
Then why even have an agreement? Throw the
That's
agreement in the garbage if it's the same.
And that's why we're talking about this again right
The
now.
reason why,
Throw the agreement in the garbage.
is over here on Vilas Hope, all right? All these big landowners that you currently speak of,
Yeah.
okay? If they chose to go here to the big guy, all right, they can go right now because they touch. Or not these down here, but I'm saying all these folks up here, okay? Now, only thing that the agreement does is that Madison agrees that they won't go any further east.
Right.
Period.
Keep our boundary where it's at
Right
now.
now, if they decide to, they can come ahead and start making these little fingers of annexations all the way into the township. If the landowners in front of it decide that they want to annex, I'm talking about the people with the 40s. Like Chris said, the little individual houses offer no advantage to the city of Madison. They want these big tracts to put their little postage stamp lots on, you know, and develop how the big cities do. The only thing that the town is going to gain from it is the assurance that the city isn't going to come hell bent for election all the way through.
And the other point to that, look at the village on here. That's all that big area there. You know how it's not contiguous? It's not like a square. They've annexed us about, what, 9 times?
Yeah,
And we can't do a thing about it. We go to the state and say, hey, here's the reasons we don't want this to happen. The state approves it no matter what.
And they won't even enter into discussions with us about a possible agreement. See these little fingers coming out here on the village? Okay, the city of Madison could start doing that to the township. Okay, the only thing the agreement does, it stops them, those little parcels that are on the east side of Vilas Hope.
I still say no. Keep it where it's at. Why give up any property? Make them go through that hoop.
we're not giving any property up.
But you're allowing us, we're just setting a new border, but then it's gonna make them pretty easy to come after us.
How did they come after you? It's the landowner that goes to Madison. vice versa.
Unless you get swept in, right? Keep saying that.
Yeah. Well,
Because if you get swept in, you don't have a choice.
You don't
have a
know.
vote.
Right, I don't have a vote.
You have a vote.
you have a
Not
vote.
if I get swept in.
And if your neighbors didn't vote in the gubernatorial election, your votes count more than their property.
What if they did?
What do you mean?
What if they voted?
Well,
I
then,
hope they did, but I'm just saying.
I do too,
Okay.
but I can't control that.
What would
Randy,
you, wonder if the village wanted to do the same thing.
Right.
Wonder if the village wanted to do the same thing to you.
I
Would
think,
that be okay?
why don't we keep our boundary where we're at? Here's an option for you, right? Dissolve the village, dissolve the town, and have one entity of the city of Cottage Grove.
oh my God, don't even go there.
I knew that.
Don't even go there.
So
I
many
tried that. I tried that for a long time. We met every month or every other month with the village. And it just fell apart immediately.
Why? What was the
The
issue?
biggest problem is a case of ordinances and land development and land use. Okay? So many, we don't have many ordinances in the grand scheme of things compared to the village of Cottage Grove or the city of Madison. Okay? Village of Cottage Grove's sticking point or their point was the fact that the town will adopt the village of Cottage Grove ordinances.
No hunting, no burning, no anything.
And you're gonna accept their debt. That's over $19 million.
And we're basically going to become the cash cow for the village if we would have joined together as a whole.
By your own admission, you said in 50 years, the town won't be here anyway. The last meeting, you said all the towns are gonna be gobbled up.
No, I
We
said,
don't know that.
I made,
They said at the last meeting.
I said,
No.
it's a very good possibility in years to come when, you gotta remember, the purest form of
Wait, did you
government
say
was
that?
the town,
Did
was
you
the
say that or
town.
not?
Right now,
There's
Dane
confirmation
County,
right there that said you did or you didn't.
Dane County comes in and we say we want smoking in a bar. They go, yeah, you know that smoking thing? They can usurp anything we do.
Hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetical, yeah. So, we don't have the powers that an incorporated city or village have. We don't have those powers. That's state law.
Randy, you had a
Yeah,
comment?
my point is that if they can do it now, and I understand all the explanations that you have, and you're right, there's a lot of things the city can do right now that we can't control. My point is very clear, is that you as a town board represent all town residents. And that if you're saying that these things, you're gonna sign this agreement and those things that I mentioned before are not gonna be supported by the town, then I don't think you're serving all town residents.
We have not decided anything yet,
I'm
Randy.
just saying
Nothing.
if you do on the agreement. Okay, Mike, I'm not saying that
We haven't signed anything with anybody, okay?
That's why I'm here.
And you are on the border of Madison. You are a
That is
person that
correct.
could go, if he's your property, you decide, hey, well, now I can make some money. You could do the same thing to him. Because you got a big enough piece of property.
Completely going off track here.
Oh, no,
My
you are.
point is that philosophically, I'd ask this board, if you do not support annexation, then we speak as a town board, supporting the town residents, not separating everybody in area A at the support or the gain of everybody outside of area A. That's all I'm asking.
And they don't have Madison on their border, most of the people in the town.
So we get our ETJ.
Yeah. And I presume there'll be a fight between the villages and in the town here sooner or later about what's gonna happen between the village and Madison. About what's gonna happen. And then we'll be chewed up and we can't even do a thing about it.
Just like we tried to stop that development down by the school, you know?
Shady Grove?
Yeah, Shady Grove. We tried
Yep.
to stop that. We went to every one of those meetings. I personally did. And the village looked at us and they said, wow, you guys got a great turnout here. You got 50 people here, all speaking against this development. And you know what they said? That's all right. You're all people that live in the township. We don't care.
But they did change a lot of things that they were gonna do in Shady Grove. That is a fact. Because the neighbors did stand up just like you guys are.
I just want to go back to why we even got into this conversation. And it's because I think I can safely represent the board when I say that we are here because we love the rural nature of the town of Cottage Grove. And we want to try and preserve the town of Cottage Grove to the best of our ability. And as Mike and Steve and Chris and Mike have said, we are the low people on the totem pole in the terms of power to preserve our town of Cottage Grove. And so when you ask, what can we do to preserve that? They say an intergovernmental agreement is the only thing, the only tool you have available. And that's why Chris started talking with the city to try and use the one tool that we have. And that's why we came with this. This is the beginning of a negotiation. It's a continuous negotiation as I see it. Is it perfect? No. Were there three things we wanted? As Kim mentioned last time, we didn't want it to go at all beyond Vilas Hope Road. Again, with all the power of the lowest people on the totem pole, we're doing what we can.
We know if
Because
this,
we love the town
But
of
we have
Cottage
no
Grove.
chance if you pass this agreement. I mean, Area A has no chance.
It has every chance it has today.
If you pass this agreement, people in Area A will be restricted by those things that are listed in that agreement. That's a fact.
You are right now.
And you
No,
are,
I'm
right now.
You are.
No, right now, I still have the support of my town board without this agreement
But you
for.
can't do any
for-
developments. There's no land development, no types of development on that part of the township at all right now. The city of Madison has turned down every request
I
from
understand that.
every landowner who has attempted to put a footprint of the township on the opposite side to kind of help maintain some of our identity, if you will, because of the fact that if you've got one property owner who sells it off and you've got 15 houses in the township, that's 15 people that can raise a hand and say, no, I don't want, we're content here.
I understand that, but you can't predict the future. You don't know what's going to happen 5 years, 10 years down the road. A whole different city council, a
This
whole
is an
different planning
agreement for
commission.
40 or 50 years.
You don't know what's going to happen. And by passing this agreement, you restrict anybody that's in Area A as to what you will or will not do. You will not
This is
support
around every
development.
major
will
We
not-
are
city in
restricted
Wisconsin.
right now. We have no chance to do anything there.
So let's just say 5 years down the road, the city changes their position in that particular area. This says is you will not support development. You couldn't 5 years from now put a pulse in development in there. You don't know that. By passing this agreement, you are restricting us on 3 different levels. You don't know what the future states, but you're saying that because it
Yeah.
exists right now, that they can come in and take this. You don't know 5 years, 10 years from now if that's still going to be the case.
And you still keep talking about take this. You keep talking, take this. You go to them, to yourself, to be allowed to be taken.
We know
You
that.
keep saying Madison's gonna take
Mike,
this.
we know
Madison's
that's
gonna
not
take
the
this.
case. We know you can be swept in. We also know there's other ways that they can take you in
You
based
can be
upon
swept in by your
major
neighbors.
development and stuff too, which you probably aren't
You can
aware
be
of.
swept in by your neighbors, Randy.
You can also, if they're putting a major roadway or something like that, they can bring you in against your will as well. You should read about that, because that's another way that they can bring you in against your will.
So where's that gonna go? Major roadway.
does the city of Madison have any other of these agreements in place right now with other towns that we know of?
The town of Madison, the town of Blooming Grove, that's why we're in the situation we're in right now.
Those are different agreements, though.
Well,
Those
they're
are under-
different, yes.
They're under a different statute, and those
Yeah.
townships actually are totally absorbed in. This is a different statute than those use.
So we don't know, or they?
Well, but in the 50 years, the same type of agreement they had, they went through the same thing.
No, theirs is a different, their towns go away under this,
That's what I'm saying. You don't think ours is gonna go away in 50 years?
not under this agreement,
No.
not because of this agreement. This agreement says that whoever's still in the town in 50 years or whenever it ends is still in the town. That agreement said at the end of the agreement, the town is gone.
Correct.
So it's a completely different statute that they're based on.
Correct. I agree with Kim. However, up until the time that those agreements were signed with Blooming Grove and Burke and so on and so forth, the township was slowly gobbled up when the landowner said, hey, I want to develop, I want to go to the city of Madison. So everybody who was jumping ship out of the township to develop their land, that's what shrunk the size of those townships to the point where they became unable to support themselves. And that's why they went with the agreement that Kim spoke about to be finally assimilated, by the Borg or the city of Madison. But it was up until that point, it was the constant erosion by property owners
It's-
selling their land off so they can develop it.
And that's happening in the town of Burke right now. Madison, the town of Madison is just the same exact situation.
So how long would it be until Cottage Grove
And
was
then
in
they're
that
not.
situation?
What's that?
How long would it be until the town of Cottage Grove is in that similar situation? where
It all depends on the landowners.
Right, well, why-
If Stevie Marks up there at the corner of Gaston and Vilas decides to sell off his property, that'll be the start of it.
why don't they let them be the determining factor? Why do we even need an agreement then? Let them do it.
I didn't hear the first part, I'm sorry.
Why don't we just let the landowner be the guide? Why do we have to have this agreement in place?
But
Because
because
we
what he was
want
saying,
something out of it.
but what he was saying is,
We want to get out of ETJ.
Why?
So we can develop our land the way the town wants to, the remaining lands.
The city has a 3-mile ETJ.
they could stop anything from happening in the town, 3 miles.
But if you wanted
We
it.
go all the way out to North Star Road right now,
I know.
okay? One of the positive things of that agreement would be the fact that the city would give up all of their, only person we would have to worry about would be the village and their 1.5 miles. So there's,
So it would be okay.
and McFarland to the south for part of it.
Ireland has annexed us recently.
But there's plenty of open land here that the town has in their master plan for development, either commercially or residential, that we would love to be able to plan ourselves with our planner, rather than having the city of Madison, the village, or excuse me, the city of Madison tell us what to do. We best know what we want for the township. We don't need the city of Madison telling us how we should develop.
Right. Did you one time put a pretty large tract of land into a green space?
Here on paper, yes.
We asked for that with the city and the village, and the village didn't want anything to do with green space.
Because green space, you're not gonna develop it, right?
Right.
But the village
And they
doesn't
wouldn't
want that.
annex it.
It's not pro-development.
It isn't?
Green space? You can't ever develop it. That's not for development.
We wanted community separation between us and the city of Madison. That was the purpose of the.
But if you owned a big tract of land in there, you could never sell it for anything but green space. What's it worth? What's your land worth?
Whatever you can get for the RDUs.
That's why we built that program in the first place. You don't
Are
have
you
a
a
big chunk of
developer or a
land.
farmer?
Randy, not now he couldn't because he's on the edge of Madison, but somebody out, to the east that has 40 acres or whatever, we wanted to keep all that in farmland. So we sort of made a deal that if they would sell rights to their land, then it would be deed restricted, so they could never sell, build on their land. So they could build like a housing development around the village of Cottage Grove. That's why we did that, to keep, that was my question with this solar crap too, we're trying to keep land in farming. But we can only do so much to do that. That's the problem. It's crap. It really is, but.
I want to apologize. The last meeting, I mentioned to these guys, it's not about you. I apologize for that because it is about you. It's
Yeah,
about
right.
all of us. But I believe also that the town is trying to protect that space and trying to protect Madison from, Madison could say, we're going to do this and you wouldn't be able to do a damn thing about it. This way, I think, I don't know, I'm not as smart as these guys, but I think you're going about the right way. And you guys have studied this thing up and down and found out that this is the best way that you feel is for this town of Cottage Grove. And I support you in that.
Who drafted the agreement? Was it Madison or us?
City.
City of Madison?
Yep.
And their attorneys?
Well, there's no real agreement.
No
It's just-
agreement.
it's just an
The
outline.
proposal, we should say.
But we
These
would,
guys approached the city of Madison.
I just want to
You
hold,
approached the city of Madison on this.
We
Okay, admit
authorized
it.
Chris to, yeah.
Yeah, admit it.
So I admit
At
it.
the last meeting.
What don't you understand about that?
I understand it, but these guys didn't hear it that way.
And that outline of things is what we negotiated now. Depending on what happens here tonight, you could draft a legal agreement that tries to say all that and see if it really does or not.
And I understand that it gets you out of the ETJ. It protects those people outside of Area A. I understand all of that. But I also hear Christie saying that, you know, as a town board, you want to preserve farmland. You want to preserve the not have urban environment come in here. That's what I'm dealing with. And I get it. You don't have to go back to saying, you don't have to come in or they can, I understand all of that. My point is, do you as a board support the concept of maintaining our urban environment and not having the city do it? They're going to do it anyway. I keep hearing that they're going to do it anyway. So go on record as saying that we do not want to enter into an agreement with you, because you guys as a board representing the residents of the town of Cottage Grove do not support that type of development. And that you want to have your own say. I get it that you may not have.
Aren't we doing that by looking at this agreement?
Not for
saying
those
we're not
people in
going to
A.
develop it. We're going to let you put your 1 or 2 houses that you have your rights for, but we aren't going to put a subdivision in there. We're going to keep it green if you want to keep it green.
And again, and I'm not going to berate this thing, but not if you're a resident in Area A. We don't feel that way. I don't feel, and I won't speak for myself, I don't feel as if I'm being represented by my board. I understand what you get from that.
You made a comment that you could be swept up.
Mhm.
Did you realize that you can go across the street and still be part of Gala Way?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how can you be surrounded? Unless, because they won't take Gala's subdivision.
I don't know where they're going to go. And
No, seriously. Seriously, think about it.
It's regardless of whether they're going to do it or whether they can do it. It is the position of this town board on the concept of annexation. That's why I'm saying, why do we need this? Why would you vote in favor of this?
you can use me as an example, because it's a very good possibility that I will get swept in and get surrounded, unlike Randy, because they won't take Gala, so you can
Where's
use
your property exactly?
me. Gaston Road in 94.
Kelsey, you know.
It
Kelsey
kills you, you
property.
know, kills you.
Okay, all right.
Come on, Steve.
So I'm
And
in.
how are you?
I've been
how
there
would
since
you be-
1965.
How would you be swept in?
I already got City Madison to the left of me,
Yep.
to the west of me. I got Mr. Cloglin wants to sell his property to the east of me. I got Todd Marks to the east and south of me.
You still got Ellery Jensen across the street.
I don't.
Who's got the corner there? Is that,
This gentleman right here.
Right
is
here.
that Mr. Congless?
Yes.
Are you on the south side of 94?
Yes.
But I think we went through, you don't actually touch Madison though, right? Didn't we go through that?
There's a very northwest corner of Cottage Grove, that tip there. What is about 100 feet where we're touch together, we're touch Madison.
And we went through this the other night, because it wasn't, most people thought when we were done with the meeting that just because you're in that blue area, you were gonna be annexed by somebody, and you can't unless you're touching Madison. Or surrounded by, 120 acres.
Which I would be.
Your only other option is you own the land. Buy the land then, and then you control it. And the landowner controls it.
But anybody with a lot of property right now would be looking at this and going, my property, if we do this or not, my property's worth a lot more money right now.
I'm not saying I'm gonna want to annex to the city of Madison, but if I do, I mean, if we sell the property, it's to the next guy, it's like, look, you have this advantage. This is in writing that you have, so that increases the value of the property. My wife and I are in our 80s. And we bought the property 30 years ago, hoping that it would someday be a retirement fund for us.
Absolutely.
And it's growing, and as it is now, Cottage Grove is the worst place in the state of Wisconsin to try to develop land in the counties. And Cottage Grove, I guess, is one of the worst places to develop your land. You have to do all this, whatever. So this gives the people an opportunity to do that, to increase the value of their land if they sell or if they don't sell. I don't have to sell. I can will it to my kids or whatever. And I just see it as such an advantage to have that, in the back pocket kind of a thing. So and to protect the city from going that much further, I mean, that's the basic concept of this seems, a winner for me. That's all.
You want to know where your borders are,
Pardon?
everybody.
And they're not getting, a lot of people.
Nobody
are not
really
gonna-
else has, because this is their only agreement they have. So everybody surrounding City of Madison they don't know where their boundaries are.
They what?
They don't know where their boundaries are. If you live up in Wanakee or Fitchburg or.
Sure they do.
You just, there's no other agreement.
No, cities and villages are on a city can't annex a village and a village can't annex into a city. So you know where your boundaries are.
But there's other towns that are out there that are butting up to the city,
Well,
correct?
not only that,
I'm sure there probably are.
They have agreements with.
So they don't know where their specific boundaries are.
It changes.
With every annexation.
Right.
There are some towns that are very lucky to have agreements with, like the town of Westport has one with the village of Wanakee, the village of Middleton, or the city of Middleton, excuse me. I guess they're a city. They have intermunicipal agreements. We're saying, okay, we're only going to come this far and we're going to stop. We're going to allow the town of Westport to exist because we promise that we will not go farther. All right, and there's town of Springfield has an agreement also with the city of Middleton on whatever border they happen to share, that they too have an intergovernmental agreement that stops. They're not going to come any farther. So yes, there are towns that do have some control over some of their borders. You can't say 360 degrees, but yes, there are. I don't know if it's the exact statute, but there are existing intergovernmental agreements out there between towns and villages and or cities. Not necessarily the city of Madison.
as I understand it, it's not that simple anyway, that you can go into the city of Madison, you just can't go and say, yeah, okay, there's all kinds of things that they have to do before that.
Well, sure, yeah.
Do some environmental things or whatever. It's just not that simple.
They're not gonna just come running out here because somebody wants to develop to put sewer and water in.
No.
That's millions and millions of dollars, That's a big thing. Madison's not gonna come running out here and say, we'll run sewer and water out to your property. That ain't gonna happen.
Sewer goes right through my property right now.
Yeah, well, it's right there.
Right down the middle of
Right
Gaston
by-
Road.
The seminary there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there,
It's
years
in there.
ago. What was the purpose of that?
What, the interceptor?
Yeah.
That's
City
the-
wanted to do it.
Metropolitan's
I
sewer district.
can tell you that I served on the school board at that time, and we were looking at building the new school that just went up, Granite Ridge. We were looking to build that farther north, and it was gonna be, we wanted to
Gaston
go down to Gaston.
You wanna know what they told me the reason was when I signed the authorization for them to go through my property? Why are you shaking your head? Do you wanna know what was
No,
told to
because
me?
I know how history changes that. I was told there was gonna be a middle school out here
No.
within 5 years. Just listen to me.
Listen to him. He's
I'm the
Okay.
landowner. I signed off. It was
Okay,
told to me that the city of Sun Prairie was growing at a rapid pace, which it is, we all know. And that at some point their sewer treatment plant on Bailey was gonna be over capacity, which then they would have an agreement with the city of Madison to run their line from there down Bailey and hook into that interceptor.
okay.
Okay, what?
I mean, that's what you heard.
Thank you for telling
That's
me.
what I heard.
You're telling us what they said.
That's what they said.
Okay, thank you for telling me that.
It
Like I
had nothing to do with the school.
This is nothing worth, let's not argue about this, okay? Let's just
Go on.
be calm, okay?
But when there's false information, you're misleading people, and that's when people get upset. I'm just gonna
But
be
you know,
honest with
You
you.
sort of you misread yourself even. You're misconstruing a lot of what's going on. How many acres do you have?
7.1.
Okay, if you had 35 or 40, I mean, that would be a different situation. You could be swept up. It's possible.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
if
but
you were in A, you would probably have a little bit different situation too, or any one of you. Because again, you're losing.
I live right in the corner of Violet's and BB. Just a little bit off that. I own
But you're in
8
the new
acres.
boundary for 40 years. You won't go any
To get a
further.
little building on the far end in front of my property, I had to go to Madison, Dane County, and the village to get three different approvals for 0.2 acres.
It's the hoops we gotta jump through.
No, but I'm just saying, it's there. But I don't live in the village. I don't live in Madison. I live in the town.
Right.
But I mean,
And if we
What I-
have this
what I like to
agreement,
just,
you won't have to worry about it ever.
but I own my piece of property. And as I told the village at one of the meetings about Shady Grove, I said, I'm gonna live to 105. You ain't never getting my property, period. Because I own that piece of property and I vote. Period. And they know this. And my neighbor, the old Voigt property, same guy, same thing. He owns that property. We'll stick together to make sure that never happens, period. Because I talked to my neighbor and he feels in Artie Voigt across the street. Same thing, feels exactly like I do. Don't want to be in Cottage, the village, because your taxes to be about 30% higher, 35, 40%. And I don't want to be in Madison because their taxes are about almost the same as the village. But there I am, right in the middle. But it's up to me what I want to do with my property. Because I know what my neighbors are gonna do.
Mike, this agreement also says that you will not support any annexation into any other municipality, including the village. So as Ken brought up earlier, why not the village? And I get that there's a history there. But what this says is that you will not support if somebody butts up against the village and wants to go to the village, because I'd rather deal with a smaller city or a village of Cottage Grove and be part of the city of Madison.
In your case.
Taxes the same. I'm not talking about me. I'm just saying is that
the village.
this agreement also says you would not support anybody annexing into the village either.
And they don't listen to us now, so why would they?
I understand, but that's what this says. So if somebody did want to go into the village, you guys won't support that.
What it's written on the paper.
Right.
It's not worth much, is it?
No.
No.
But if it's not worth much, then go on record as saying you don't support it.
We're still in the situation that the village and Madison are gonna start dealing with this very shortly.
Sure they will, just like they did with the
Just
town.
makes them feel good. It makes them feel good.
So they're gonna fight, but they're gonna be fighting the village and to see who's got the most power in the middle there. The village is gonna, you should have seen the plan they came up with, what they wanted. Holy Christ, it was absolutely ridiculous. We stopped negotiating with them. And now up until this point, they have not been negotiating with the village. So we could say anything we want and they could go right on and go, okay, well, we don't want to go by that.
And Mike, I'll make one comment on that, then I promise I'll shut up. Town of Madison's a good example. They had an agreement 20-some years ago with their agreement, which now is going to expire next year. Part of that agreement meant that some of the town went to the city of Madison, some of that town went to Fitchburg.
Yep.
So when you start talking about this agreement between the city and the village that they're going to get together, it's quite possible that some people in area A may end up going to the village and not the city. We don't know that. So again, I'm saying if we don't know that, and it's going to happen anyhow, this agreement really doesn't do anything for those people in A, other than it says that if that does happen, if they get together, the city and the village get together and they start talking and they come up with boundary agreements, this thing says for 40 years, you will not support as a town board anybody that's in area A going to the village.
But see, exactly what was brought up earlier is the fact that never got that, what Kim was talking about, when they finally got to that point that they voted to go into Madison or Fitchburg or whatever, was the case that their town government had no money. They had, very little of anything was even left. They had no choice. They had to go and make agreements.
That's not the case 20 some years ago for the town of Madison.
Oh.
I can tell you that's not the case for 20 years ago.
All right. I think that was one of the cases in the paper I gave you. So I'm just saying, when you get to the point where the town here, we don't have any money left because there's a bunch of it in the village. And you got to remember, every time the village annexes, then the outside people from that annexation can annex in. So we're expanding to the village, and we're trying to stop them going farther east and farther south. But, you know, all we can do is we can talk to them and tell them exactly what we feel. And every time they annex, we even try to get a law through that if they annexed and never did anything with that annexation, the land would come back to the town again. Didn't happen. The state disapproved it. So, because why should they take our land and then sit on it and never do a damn thing with the land? It shouldn't happen. But because a landowner made the choice of annexing into the village, they could do that. Just like you would have your choice of not annexing into Madison. But you know, they're looking for, like this gentleman said, and he's totally right, he has the power over his property.
More and more, we're losing our right to our property, our right to other things and whatever people are, you know, that governments like Matt, they're taking things away. This gives us an opportunity to have a say over our property. That's the way I see it. Otherwise, you know, if I sincerely wanted to develop my property without this agreement, what would be my chances of doing that?
Pretty good with the town, but crappy with the city.
Yeah, you know, there's no way in the world.
City's not gonna let him divide it.
What's
No.
that?
City's not gonna let him divide it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We would allow you to.
We would, but.
You know, if I wanted to build another house for without buying all these other things or whatever, you know, I can't do it. You know, it's just crazy. We'll have all this land and not be able to do it. So, I mean, to be able to have options, I mean, you know, I don't know where a person could go wrong. That's.
Me personally, I would like to see us just hold us in abeyance and not discuss this with Madison for a while. Because we could do this in a year or 2 years, and maybe Madison will come back and say, well, you know, maybe we don't need that much, you know. So I don't want to see any of our land annexed into anywhere. But I do like to see landowners, like you have a dream that your land is worth, and it's probably worth more anyway right now. But that should be your right to think about those kind of things.
So I guess and my last statement, so what is like the next ability to talk to City of Madison? What's the next step?
Well, it's what we decide here before
Is it either a yes or a no? Or
Take a
what
vote
you said, maybe wait a year or two, or what?
Well, I don't know.
What?
There's motions to be made, and
Got the letter that was hand delivered today. So what next step?
You do have one comment or question online.
Okay,
Someone with the initials of TE is asking, do we have a current boundary? I'm not sure what he means, but maybe he'll speak
our
up.
current boundary is where it is.
Left side of the blue.
Yeah, all the way down.
we're 36 square miles, 36 miles the town is. But
Plus
the village is,
and-
but the village is in it, you know, that's part of what's going on, but the village is almost totally on the far northwest corner of the entire town. Most of the town, you're right. You get away from here, they're not gonna be affected by any of this for many, many years, probably.
It's, it's where it's always been.
Yeah.
On the west. What direction do you want to take?
I'd kind of like to have Madison draw up the agreement, see what it looks like.
See what the legalese
Yeah,
actually says?
yeah. I mean, that's gotta be the next step for us.
Turn the outline into an actual.
Into some kind of formal agreement. This isn't, obviously, we can't sign this thing now.
No.
Well, I would just like to not do anything right now, period. And and tell them if they want to come back with a better agreement or whatever.
What do you think you can get out of them
I don't know.
with a better agreement?
I don't know.
What are you looking for?
I am looking
a
for
guarantee?
more rights involved in what they're doing there. Because you gotta remember, they had two things in that document that were totally wrong. I mean, they were totally wrong. About the two houses on land, for one thing. And what was the other one, one that we discussed? Oh, that everybody thought that they could be annexed, because like Madison could jump over spots, and which they can't.
No.
So
You have to touch.
Yeah, it said anybody in the blue could annex. to
yeah,
Madison.
that was not correct.
It didn't say you had to touch Madison, it just said anybody in the blue.
So why can't
So that's,
direct Madison to go ahead and prepare that document? And then we can see it at that point. And if there's something that they missed again, we'll send it back to them again.
We if you were involved here when we were dealing with a dump on a couple different occasions, we sort of talked with power in a way. We did, because
we knew that they couldn't move the dump.
well, whatever. And they're gonna deal with it again, where they're not gonna do it. They're gonna move all the junk across the street and then use the dump area where it is now and put everything across in the golf course on 18 holes.
The only reason we had power before was Moving Grove was still alive.
Yeah, and the point that
And the two towns could vote together.
they were running out of the contract to stay there. So we did have power,
As long as Moving Grove was there.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it was 2 against 2 then.
yeah. We were lucky, and we didn't have Madison basically involved.
But this last time with the expansion higher,
Madison is involved.
Madison and the counties thumbed their nose at us.
They got the power, but
Looking for direction.
Make a motion, we table for 18 months. 18 months.
I'll second that.
Motion by Andrews, second by
Why?
Conger.
18 months, a
Table for 18 months.
year just doesn't,
I just don't understand what you think you can get.
because of the fact that, well, I'm not necessarily saying, if you want to be 100% honest right now, my motion up until I actually spoke was going to be a motion to kill this thing right here and now. All right? Because the more I thought about it, I had some high hopes that when the city of Madison came to us, they'd stop right at Vilas Hope. All right? It was a logical delineation, go straight south all the way down, and now all of a sudden they came with these zigzags. They sat there and told us, no, we're not going to. It just basically thumbing, putting their thumbs up our nose. And
I asked the guy from Madison, who sort of lives out in this area, okay, what happens if we just say we don't want to deal with this right now? He said, nothing.
But then
and I
again,
don't,
they've still
and
got
there's
their,
nothing in a,
they've still got their ETJ that's all the way up to Highway N,
North Star.
North Star Road.
Yep,
So you're willing to cede that to them then?
they've got it now, okay?
You're not saying, what do you mean seed it?
We're not
It's
ceding
gonna be in the
anything.
town.
No,
Still in the town.
we're getting them to back off.
We've got North Star now, and they allowed us to do what we're doing, right?
Yes.
How many people does this affect in this blue area?
Pardon?
How many people does it affect in the blue area?
How many cards did you have?
I think I sent like 165 postcards or something like that. So that would be residences, addresses,
155 in
something
there?
like that.
I don't see a one of those people here outside of myself that are here to disallow this. I mean, those people got the notice. They seem to be okay with it. Otherwise, I think they'd be here. That's an awful lot of people. And to not have them come to this meeting,
We do
to me,
have,
that says, okay, I'm all right with this.
No, that doesn't mean that.
What do we got? 20 here, 30 here?
No, God, no.
1, 2,
Well,
4,
the-
6, 8,
The
10,
people that
12,
are
15,
definitely
16,
against it
20,
are here.
18, 20, almost 30.
Motion's been made.
20 names here.
We got backside too?
Backside,
Yep, 20.
20.
Motion was warned, table is for 18.
Well,
Any other discussion on the motion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion failed. Next motion.
I motion that we proceed with next steps in a possible intergovernmental agreement with the city of Madison, have their attorneys draw up the agreement, and then we'll re-examine what the final look like
With the
with the two things being corrected.
being corrected.
Yeah,
No, second.
but I'm assuming that they'll do that.
Well, I think we need to. ensure-
I understand that.
so clarifying the language about the allowable one
Housing,
house per property owner.
And the issue of being dragged in needs to be addressed because we don't want to see that.
That's state law.
What is that?
We don't have
that's state
anything-
law though.
We can't
Okay.
stop that. It's how annexation,
that's how, but that's how Shady Grove got developed.
This gives us another chance to look at it. We can always not sign it, but it gives us a clarification chance. So I'll second that.
Motion by Blaze, second by Williams, to ask Madison to draft it. Correction to the number of homes per parcel.
And also to clear up the issue of dragging in.
We can't.
No,
cover that.
You can't. Don't even put that in there.
State law.
All right.
Well, I wouldn't even, me personally, I wouldn't put anything about lawyers drafting up anything. I'd just soon have the planner come back and tell us we'd like to see another plan. Let's start simple,
Second is fine with that.
because
Well, he made the motion, and you seconded to draft it with that one
correction.
making sure that that was in the draft. Discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
Motion carried. Discuss and consider requests from Deer Grove EMS to use town ARPA funds to finance a radio infrastructure upgrade for Deer Grove EMS.
Village on board with this?
I believe they are.
Is anybody missing that in the packet? Because Chris had two, and I don't know.
I got it.
I got it. I got two of the, whatever the previous one was. I assume that was just.
It's hard to get pages apart when you don't.
I believe the village supported it at our EMS meeting.
If I might add, I've talked to Village Administrator Geezy and they have sent it off to their financial advisor for further analysis and in fact are open to it.
Okay, open chief is different than
supporting. Right.
truly supporting it. I'm glad to hear.
They
That's
won't support it until their financial advisor tells them to do that.
Yeah, they want to be sure that it's an approved expense, which I understand and why we're bringing the conversation forward, because every municipality is going to have to ensure that by their own standards and their own experts, if you will, that it's an approved expense. From our research, we believe it to be, but we've not spent time with anybody that has specific and intimate knowledge of the federal law.
Is there a motion? Motion by Andrews to approve. Is there a second? Second by Williams. Discussion on the motion to approve using ARPA funds for the radio infrastructure. I assume that's what your motion said.
Correct.
As long as it meets ARPA
I'm sure it does.
standards. Any other discussion?
What does your financial advisor think?
Well, that's what I just asked her, and she's not even
It's
sure.
very vague right now. You know, you're calling it infrastructure, which that, whatever I read, is falling under lost revenue, and the town does not have lost revenue. So if it comes to that, you're not gonna be able to cover it. If you're gonna, you know, if you can word it to fit how they like it, then you can try it, I guess. It's really your own,
Yeah,
Your
but
own
then there's the thing
interpretation
about
of the
health and
rules.
safety though, also.
what's that?
Health and safety though, correct?
It does, but,
And I know that there are other municipalities within Dane County that have done just that.
okay.
Wanakee, I'm pretty sure.
Waterloo.
But we don't know that it's been approved yet either, because none of this, they haven't reported anything yet.
Yeah, because we don't report until next year.
Yeah,
What are you gonna go to get it approved?
you just have to fill out reports.
So it
And
could
if they
take,
choose to audit your,
that could take forever in the first place to get that through.
You ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discuss and consider next steps for possible agreement to lease space behind the town hall to Tillman Infrastructures LLC for a communication tower. Are they still interested?
Well, it was left in your court. They sent this template and you were supposed to review that and then, you know, it's in your court at this point. Yes, they're still interested. They haven't, you know, come back with anything different other than waiting to see what you think of this template.
Did Richard Wood look at this?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that what we're looking, oh, okay.
Note from him.
First thing I want to say is thank you to Richard Wood for his
Oh, geez.
evaluation and feedback. That was very helpful to me. So, thank
So-
you, Richard Wood.
Where exactly is this spot? How close to, say, the burn pile back there?
It's be to the east of it a little bit.
Okay,
So basically where that rock pile sits now, right in that area.
I know that in the county's ordinance, unless they removed it, there has to be a 360-degree fall zone equivalent to the height of the tower, plus a certain amount of feet, so in case there was a catastrophic failure, that it wouldn't impact people, buildings, and so on and so forth.
Which it probably would have that.
You would have
Yeah, it's all open field behind there too.
I know, but
To the north.
to the north it'd be fine, to
Yeah.
the east it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Soccer field to the south.
Fine. It's not gonna impede anything.
If
So
it's a
would it-
storm, they won't be having soccer.
Yeah, if it's that bad a storm where it's gonna blow a tower
Well,
over,
it just,
they're not gonna be.
the
able to-
county's ordinance doesn't say that though.
Common sense tells me that.
Huh?
Common sense tells me that.
It's not a stadium. It's, you know what I mean? It's just a soccer field on an open piece of grass.
It's open grass.
Yeah, they're not
But
gonna, they're not gonna.
I
know what you're saying,
County's tower ordinance is gonna have to be consulted.
I think, wasn't that mainly for like those wind towers?
No, this is way before wind turbines and stuff like
Well,
that.
the windmills, they don't even.
This is back when
they don't
cell
even fall under
towers
that.
were the big evil giant, like to some people, the wind farms are. nowadays. You know, I'm not necessarily opposed to having it there. There is so much in that ordinance.
Well, we have what, 300 feet from the back of our buildings to Houston's property line, I think it is roughly. So, I mean, there's a lot of area to fall there, you know? The thing's only 150 feet, he said, right?
200, I thought.
No,
150.
Is 150?
150 something, maybe
I mean,
160, 165
It's
maybe.
gonna be in the details of what the attorney can.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, it just,
With them. I would assume we should probably tell them we're interested and would negotiate.
Send them this and see what
Well,
they do.
no, I wouldn't,
No, I
wouldn't give
send
this.
this.
to them.
Why
No,
not?
no,
No.
no.
this is our bargaining chips.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, you're saying if they, a boilerplate
Yeah,
contract they send you?
yes.
we
yes.
need them to send us the
Actual
actual
contract.
contract,
Right.
and then we'll negotiate with them
From
on
that, from
the
that.
amounts and
Yep.
liability and all this other.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you get a long process yet before.
Yeah,
I agree.
Richard Wood did point out some things that we need to be concerned about. Number 6, item 8, insurance actually puts the town in a tough position if insurance occurs. And also, number 8, environmental, the town could be at risk for any plume emanating from hydrant. So there are some places where
we don't have a plume from hydrant coming in this direction.
We don't have any control over that. I mean, it could be crap coming from Senex. I mean,
you're right.
They have a cell tower sitting right in the, cell tower is actually right there next to the buildings at Senex.
oh, right, and there's one up in the hill.
Yeah, so.
True.
But that's what the lawyer's gonna protect us on.
Oh, yeah.
I would,
Well, like he says on item 11, lawyer review. That's
Yeah.
what we gotta do.
right.
Well, your attorney did say he's done a lot of these. Your attorney did say he's negotiated a lot of these. So
I would
So I
start,
think we had him do that.
but I would start the
I'm willing to see
discussion
what the
higher,
heck they provide.
higher than what Richard would suggest, so.
Oh, the fee? Oh, yeah, it's gotta be more than 1,000 a month.
Okay,
So is there a motion?
I so move.
Motion by Williams, second by Anders, to advise them that we are interested, and you want to put in your motion that you want them to negotiate it with Bill,
Yes, that's part of the motion.
Steve? That Bill would negotiate terms with them.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item is discuss and consider approval of the addendum to the Rotofill landfill expansion. And our attorney has not seen this yet. So if we would approve it, it would be contingent on him giving us thumbs up on it. But it's basically giving us the 12% increase on our annual fee.
After it reaches. The one thing that I thought was kind of confusing was the number. I mean, consistently, it would say, approved eastern expansion area of landfill first reaches an elevation of 999.6 feet above mean sea level. Then later on, it says, number 3,
It's approved now to the 999.6.
but then why is this elevation of landfill shall be 1,060?
1065 is the next layer that they can go.
Thank you.
So it's that area in between there
Okay.
So
that
that
we're
next
getting the
66 feet.
12% on.
Thank you.
the next 66 feet.
Thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying.
John Welch is online if you have questions, by the way.
Hello, John.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, the phone just dropped for a minute, so I'm glad I'm back on. Yeah, willing to answer any questions you may have.
So I guess I would make a motion that we forward this to Bill Cole for his review, and if he finds it okay, that we are then approved to sign it.
Second it.
Motion by Hampton, second by Williams, to send it to Attorney Cole for his review, and upon his determination that it's okay to allow the chair to sign. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. John, can I ask you one other question?
Absolutely.
Has the city and the county signed the new agreement?
The city and the county have signed the new local negotiated agreement, correct?
So you're not waiting for us? You don't need our.
We are technically not want us.
Awesome.
Lost you, John.
That's your tunnel.
Well, maybe he'll be back. Can we go to discuss and consider adoption of resolution 2021-11-01?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
now you just hung up.
Technology.
Keep your fingers off that button.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. We have decided not to forward that agreement to the state for final approval or certification until the town takes action on that agreement.
Okay. All right. We'll probably do it after we, or at the same time that we act on the addendum.
Okay, that makes sense.
You've really already acted on that, right? And you're gonna sign it if the attorney says it's okay, but you'll have to bring the other one back to the next meeting then to finally approve it. So we'll get that on the next agenda.
Yeah.
Because you guys tabled,
Until-
you tabled the, yeah, assuming the attorney is done with it before the next meeting,
Yeah.
but you tabled the big agreement for this little one.
Until this one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
now as long as the attorney's okay with it, you're done with that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
So we're at adopting a ward plan.
Okay, so I didn't change much because we really don't have to. No ward can be over 1,000 in population. You can see that we have a couple that are approaching it, but because of the hullabaloo it can cause to change them, and we don't have to yet, I'm recommending that we don't. The only thing I did change was we had a 7th ward that if you look on the screen, there's a little finger that sticks up. It's the village pumping station.
Yep.
The village bought it, but they didn't annex it. And somehow in 2010, it ended up being in a different assembly district and had to be a ward of its own. Well, this time we're doing our wards before the assembly district, so I'm pulling it into the ward below it, so we can only have 6 wards.
Yep.
So there's nobody there anyway, it's a pumping station.
Right.
So other than that, the lines are exactly the same as before. Nothing has changed. And you can see the populations, like I said, on that first page, and then which is required that we have that in the resolution, as well as all the census blocks, which are on the final page. And that all spits right out of the WISE LR software that's provided to do this mapping, so it's easy to generate all that. So this is what I would recommend.
Is there a motion?
I
So
moved.
moved.
A second.
Motion by Clay, second by Williams to adopt resolution 2021-11-01, the ward plans. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Update on public works.
Get cold out.
Yeah.
We actually started getting the snow equipment out today. It's November. So we actually got the plows out. We actually took Mike's truck up to get adjusted. It needs to be tightened up and stuff, but yeah, the rest of them, some of them got salters on, some got plows on. A couple days.
You said you're stopping mowing in 2 weeks?
2 days, like we'll be done in 2 days.
Oh, we'll
Mowing everything, so. Yeah. Parks and stuff we might have to do next week yet, but like the ditch mowing and stuff will be all done by Thursday, so.
Looks good.
Yeah, thank you. It's going quick this year, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's been a fast year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had.
What about your compost site?
Oh, that we're closing it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're what?
finally.
Closing the compost site on
November 11th is last day for collections. It will be closed and removed on the 12th.
And removed.
Removed. Won't be sitting where it's at right now. It'll be a sand bunker.
So if someone wants to dump a bunch of leaves there?
No, there won't be anything there.
Okay.
It won't be there. It'll be in a different location with sand in it. So repurposed blocks.
clerk's office.
One thing, speaking of ARPA funds, that I did see is some of the clerks are talking about whether we might be able to use them for badger books. And there was an opinion from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities about it. It's just like everything else, it's somewhat vague. Like Deb said, the sort of justification that they're suggesting is that it would potentially allow you to have less workers in the room, move people through faster, and so those could be some justifications that could be used. Eventually, I think we should get badger books. I haven't pushed for them, but eventually I think that's going to be the way to go. I kind of would like to see what happens with some of these other ones though before I would jump into it, but that might be something we could use them for in a year or something. So the new court clerk started training today.
Board reports and communications. I assume everybody saw that where the new landfill's going to be at the Shahara Hills Golf Course.
Well, it's going to be all their environmental stuff, right? That's what they're going over there with, basically. It's not like they're gonna unload a bunch of dump stuff.
Oh, garbage will go there too.
Yeah, but
There'll be another hill.
It's different. I thought it was environmental.
It has some environmental aspects to it.
Yeah.
It looked like that was the big deal for us, that they would do that.
Yeah,
sure wouldn't want it.
they were talking, the article talked about like
food waste
and mattresses.
Special
stuff
so they can take
keep it
stuff
out
out.
of going.
Get it out of the going into the landfill.
So we'll have that to look forward to in the future. Otherwise, that's all that I had. Committee reports, Deer Grove VMS.
Trying to remember.
Is that our last meeting?
Okay, we haven't heard back about the negotiations yet. It's in
No, from the union,
waiting from the union to hear back.
right?
Anything at all?
Supposedly, they were waiting for the state union to give it its blessing. They were okay with it, but before they actually vote on it.
We are trying to expand the number of ambulances available next year to have between the hours that most of the ambulance calls take place, to have 2 ambulances available. And he's posted it. Unfortunately, they're 12-hour shifts and they haven't had
Only 3.
3 people applied so far. So they want 24-hour shifts, not 12-hour shifts. So I remain hopeful that we can do this.
And no news on the ambulance.
No,
Oh,
no, it hasn't been started yet.
No.
what I got
Might be a 22. I don't know.
actually late 22. I got a call from the dealer where I happen to have one. Granted, this is just different dealer than where your Grove has. Chrysler has been canceling fleet orders on 3,500, 4,500, and 5,500 trucks left and right in order to better supply the retail customers. And so up at where I get my vehicles from, they had 28 vehicles canceled that were
One
ordered
dealer.
and have been ordered because of, actually Chrysler canceled it because of probably chips.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's,
Take a look at Easton, drive and see how few cars are at home.
there are very few
Everywhere.
cars out there.
Used cars and new cars, and no, there's no new cars hardly at all.
Yeah. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by DeClay, second by Williams. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
See, but that Chrysler closed down, is it?
Huh?
Chrysler is closing down.